Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're going a little undercover. We're going to reveal just how infections spread and, way more importantly, how we can stop them dead in their tracks. Have you ever wondered how just one little germ can somehow pull off a massive hospital-wide outbreak? Well, it's not some random accident. It's actually a pathogen following a super effective strategy, almost like it's on a secret mission. And believe it or not, this mission follows a 6-step plan. Our job? To break it. So let's dive right into this enemy playbook. In the world of infection control, we call it the chain of infection. All right, Section 1, the pathogen's playbook. This is literally the mission plan that every single pathogen, we're talking bacteria, viruses, fungi, you name it, follows to succeed. And, understanding their plan is always the first step to defeating them. So here they are, the infectious agent, the reservoir, the portal of exit, mode of transmission, portal of entry, and finally, the susceptible host. These are the 6 critical links. And for an infection to actually take hold and spread, every single one of these links has got to be connected in order with no breaks. Not a single one. Let's zoom in on one of these links for a second, the reservoir. You can kind of think of this as the enemy's safe house. It's the place where the pathogen lives, where it multiplies, gets stronger, and basically preps for its next move. And this could be a person who has the flu, sure, but it could also be something like uncooked chicken in your kitchen or even your dog's water bowl. Okay, so what about the mode of transmission? Well, this is the really tactical part of the mission. It's how the agent actually makes its move. It could be something obvious, like a cough, or it could catch a ride on tiny airborne particles. Or, and this is a big one, it could be hiding out on an object, like a doorknob or your phone screen. Experts call those fomites. It just sits there waiting for someone unsuspecting to come along. Okay, that's their playbook. Now for ours. Section 2. Breaking the enemy's chain, our counteroffensive. And here's the really cool part. We don't have to fight this war on all fronts at once. We just have to break one link in that chain. And the best part? We have a specific countermeasure for every single step of their plan. So our first move? We go right after the agent itself, the source of the problem. We can totally neutralize it with some simple but incredibly powerful tactics. Things you already know, like proper hand hygiene, thoroughly sterilizing equipment, or using medications, like antibiotics. Next up, we block their escape routes. A pathogen has to have a way out of its reservoir, right? Well, we can stop it right there. This is all about covering coughs and sneezes, using personal protective equipment, PPE, and just making sure any contaminated waste gets disposed of safely. Then, we disrupt their travel plans. See, even if the agent manages to get out, we can still stop it from ever reaching its destination. This is where things like isolation protocols come into play, along with, you guessed it, that incredibly powerful defense we keep talking about, just plain old, proper hand hygiene. And finally, we can strengthen the potential target. We basically make the host less susceptible to an attack in the first place. This is where stuff like vaccinations, good nutrition, and preventative treatments, the technical term is prophylaxis, come into play. It's like building a personal fortress against infection. Okay, so how does all this theory actually build into a real-world defense? Let's get into Section 3, our defensive protocols. You see, we don't just use one plan for every threat. We've got specialized protocols that are tailored to the specific pathogen we're up against. You can think of these protocols like layers of defense, starting with a universal baseline that applies to absolutely everyone. This first and most fundamental layer, the one we use in every healthcare setting for every patient, is called standard precautions. And this table gives you a great overview of our main strategies. See, we start with that universal baseline, standard precautions. And then we add more specific tactics depending on how a particular germ spreads. Is it by contact, droplets, or through the air? We even have a special protective protocol called Neutropenic precautions, which is totally different. It's designed for our most vulnerable patients. So, standard precautions, this is basically our default setting. We assume that every single patient is potentially infectious. Now, it's not about singling anyone out, not at all. It's about creating a universal shield of safety with the basics, like washing our hands and using gloves or masks whenever there's any chance of exposure. Okay, but what about the really elusive threats? I'm talking about the ones that travel on tiny particles that can just hang in the air for hours, things like TB or measles. For those, we have to deploy our highest level of containment. That means a properly fitted N95 respirator and putting the patient in a special negative pressure isolation room, which literally keeps the air from escaping. But what happens when our mission isn't about containing a threat? Let's look at Section 4, protective custody. Because sometimes our entire objective gets flipped completely on its head. Sometimes the mission isn't to contain a threat at all, is to protect an asset. And this is for patients who are severely immunocompromised, people whose own immune systems are just too weak to fight off even the most common germs. Think about patients going through chemotherapy or someone who's just had a bone marrow transplant. For these patients, we start something called protective isolation, and the rules are super strict. We're talking a private, positive pressure room, which actively pushes filtered air out to keep germs from getting in. There's strict hand hygiene for absolutely everyone. No fresh flowers or plants, no raw fruits or vegetables, and all visitors have to be screened for any hint of illness before they can go in. So here's the crucial point, the fundamental shift in strategy. Most of our protocols, the standard ones, are all about protecting others from the patient. But these protective protocols, they're about protecting the patient from others. The whole goal is flipped. And this, right here, is the ultimate takeaway. Break one link, the chain falls apart, the infection stops. The whole seemingly complex strategy of infection control, it really just boils down to this one simple, incredibly powerful idea. You don't have to be a superhero. You just have to find and break one single link. So that leaves us with a final question. The chain of infection is everywhere. So which link will you break today? Because this isn't just about hospitals, right? This chain exists at home, at work, out in your community. You now have the playbook. And whether it's through something as simple as washing your hands or getting a vaccine, you have the power to stop an infection dead in its tracks.